Hey everyone, I'm Jill the Wandering Stamper and I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday. Today we are going to make a fun fold that's called a squash card. I just learned how to make this fold a couple of weeks ago and I thought it was super cool and super fun. It's a great way to use those designer series paper scraps and make a really cool card. So let me take a moment to turn down the camera and I'll show you how to do this card. Let's make a squash card together. See you in a second. Here's what we're using today to make this card. First of all, let me just show you the card. Look how cute this card is. The front is absolutely adorable. This uses the Festive Friends stamp set, which is one of my favorite holiday sets this season. And look at this. How cool is this squash card? And it's not hard to make. Once you made a few, you will be good to go. So let me show you what we're doing. Let's look at what we're using first. So I grabbed these Dear Dots embellishments, and these have really pretty colors. There's some Pool Party, some probably shaded spruce or garden green. These would go with a variety of shades of green. We've got some petal pink and then some red. So these are really great for your holiday embellishments. We've got this Festive Friends stamp set. I love the stamp set. It's so cute and it's lots of fun to color. This would also be a lot of fun for kids to color. You could stamp these, die cut them, and let the kids go to town on them. They'd also make really cute gift tags. Lots of fun with this set. And the dies cut out all of the people. There's some trees. There's a tag. There are snowflakes. And then this cool little tag, which is perfect for making little gift tags for your presents. So lots of versatility with this set. And then I'm also going to be using the perennial postage dies. These thankfully carried over from last year and I use them all the time. And then I'm going to be using the So Swirly embossing folder. This kind of makes that, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like a snowstorm or something. So I thought it would be kind of cool to use. So we're using that. And then let me tell you, I'm so excited. Stampin' Up! Has decided to carry vellum paper again. If you remember, if you've been stamping for a while, you used to be able to buy a small pack of it. It was about, I don't know, maybe 5x7 paper, and they got rid of it. I was kind of bummed because I used a lot. Well, guess what? They now sell it as a 12x12 paper pack. So you can now get your vellum, and it's super good quality. I think it's a better quality than what you would get in a paper store. So really good stuff. So I'm really excited they brought it back. And then I am using paper, designer series paper from the Nests of Winter, and I've chosen two designs, which are these two designs. They look really pretty and I love Pool Party. It's one of my favorite colors. So I've grabbed that. This designer series paper is oh so pretty, but these are what we're using. And then I've grabbed some real red and some Pool Party, which pair perfectly together. So that's what we're using. So let me show you how to make this card. And the great thing is you can use a lot of scraps for this card, which I love. All right, we're gonna start out with a standard base, and I've decided to make my base Pool Party, of course, because I love that color. So we're gonna do 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to score it at 4.25. So that's just your basic card base. Nothing fancy about that. So we'll go ahead and grab the bone folder now and give it a little burnish. I like to do it right away. So that is done. All right, and then while we're cutting our base, let's go ahead and cut our inside pieces for our squash. So that's going to be 2 pieces of 4x4 cardstock. So you basically will use 1 sheet of paper of cardstock for this card. So there's 4x4, and here's the second 4x4. All right, and now we're going to do a little bit of scoring on this. So now you could cut your 4 inches and just score all the way down if you want, or you can do it separately. Either way, sometimes I do it all at once before I cut it. So we're going to score it in half so that would be at 2 inches. So we're going to give it a good score. And then we're going to rotate it and go in the other way at 2 inches. Okay, so that gives us 4 quadrants. So we want to do one more score, and that's going to be on the diagonal. So I am just using my paper cutter to match up the corners, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it a fold. So we've got one line here, one line here, and one line here. Okay, we're going to do the exact same thing for the other piece. So we're going to score it at 2 inches, rotate it and go the other way at 2 inches, and then rotate it half of a turn and do the diagonals. And I am just lining up my tips there so it's nice and straight. So there we go. So there's those two pieces. I'm going to set those aside. Now let's go ahead and decide what we're doing for our front. So normally you could use any piece of designer series paper, cut that at 4 by 5 1/4. I decided to use that beautiful So Swirly embossing folder and emboss my vellum. Now let me give you a tip about embossing vellum. Embossing vellum can perforate some of your vellum. So what I do is I just take a scrap piece of paper, like usually like right here I have some paper from my printer that I don't need. It's just scraps. So I'll go ahead and just create a little folder and put my vellum in there and then run it through, and you can cut this down to size. Mine's actually a little smaller. And I run it through, I put it into my embossing folder like this and run it through. And that way you have a little bit of a buffer. So you still get that beautiful design, but it's not gonna perforate or tear any of the pieces. So this is the largest postage die. Perennial postage die. This is the largest die, just so you know, and it fits really nicely on the front of my card. Okay, so if you're not using this, you can just cut a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of cardstock, or layer a piece of cardstock and a piece of designer series paper, whatever you want to do. All right, so that is for the front. And then we have some other things that I've already cut for decorating, and I'll show you those in a bit. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to create the layers for our squash card. So let me show you what we're doing with these two 4 by 4s. These are the squash panels. So go ahead and you're going to fold your two square, your two crossed score lines. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. And we're going to burnish those with the bone folder. So I'm folding those both as a mountain fold, just like so. All right, and then your crosswise score line is going to be a valley fold. So you're folding that one in the opposite way. And before you burnish it, that's a great time to make sure everything's straight, because you want it to open and close straight. So that is good. So once you did those in opposite directions, look, it automatically will fold for you just the way it's supposed to fold. Okay, so once that folds, I go ahead, give it one more crease. We're going to set that aside. We're going to do this one. So we're going to do a mountain fold. Then we're going to do a mountain fold. And then we're going to do a valley fold on the diagonal. Super simple, nothing hard about that. And we're going to give it a good burnish. And then when we open it up, it just automatically folds the way it's supposed to. Okay? So we're going to set those aside. So now, ultimately, these are going to be attached like this. So we're going to need to cover all these little pieces, okay? So this piece here at the top is going to be one that you can put a sentiment on. So we're going to make that basic white. So I'm going to grab, do I have any scraps? I do. We're going to grab a scrap of basic white, and we're going to make that piece 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. So that's basically the measurement you're going to do for everything. So we've got 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, and I'm just using a scrap, just like so. So that's going to go on there. All right, the next piece you want is you're going to have 3 pieces of solid designer series paper for the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, I have some scraps here. Let's see if this is wide enough. This is not. This one is. So I'm going to be cutting 3 pieces that are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 in this design. So you want to have 2 different designs of your designer series paper, or your cardstock colors, or whatever. So there's one piece, and I'm going to cut 2 more. So you want 3 of this one, whichever design you want. So 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then one more. Okay, so there's those three. So now we want an alternating pattern for the other pieces. So I've pulled this and we want 4 of those. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this. You guessed it, 1 3/4. All right, and then I'm going to turn it and cut 4. So again, these are 1 3/4 squares. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so once we've got those 4 cut, I'm just going to stack them together. They're all the same size, so I'm going to stack them together here, and I'm going to cut them diagonally. Now, if your blade is a little dull, do 2 at a time. I usually can do all 4, no problem. The main thing is get them nice and straight, and I'm just going to match up my corners here. I'm going to anchor my blade in the middle because I don't want to squish my corners, and just give it a cut. Okay, so there are those pieces. Now, the other thing you want to do is you want something that looks nice on the inside. So this could be a panel of Designer Series paper. I've chosen to put a strip here, and then you want to have something on the bottom to write your message. So we're going to go ahead and grab a piece of basic white. I'm hoping this is big enough, and I'm just going to make that 4 by 5 1/4. And that worked fine. That was big enough. All right. Oops, I bumped my camera. I apologize for that. I'm in a small little space here. All right, and then I'm going to make my strips to go along the top. So I'm going to grab some scraps. Let's see if I've got something in here that will work. I'm hoping I do. We're going to make that scrap. That's big enough, so 1 inch wide. So I'm making my inside layer 1 by 5 1/2. So let's go ahead and cut it at the 5 1/2 and 1 inch, just like so. Okay, so there's that piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab those scraps again. And let's see how long this is. This is not long enough. So I'm creating another one. All right, and then we're going to cut 7/8 by 5 1/2. So just slightly smaller. We just want a little bit of that red peeking through. So 7/8 by 5 1/2. And that is all of our cutting. So then I can just show you how to put it together. So that will layer nicely, just like so. All right, let's put this out of the way, and I'm going to show you how to put this together. So let me grab some scrap paper. Let's go ahead and do some stamping really quick. So I'm going to do some snowflakes on the inside here. All right, so we have this fun little snowflake stamp. So I'm going to grab a block here and stamp my snowflakes. And I'm going to do some of these full bright stamping, just like that. All right, and then I'm going to stamp off and just add some lighter ones. Just make it more interesting. So we're just adding here and there some stamps. Give it that little snow flurry look. All right, that looks good. That's it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and clean this stamp off so I don't make a mess, because I'm a messy stamper. I'll admit it. All right, that looks good. You know what? While we have this out, let's go ahead and add a few to this piece as well. All right. Let's do one more right there. All right, that kind of pulls those snowflakes in. All right, and then I'm going to grab, let's grab the to and from. That's pretty cute. And I'm going to do this in basic black Memento ink, tuxedo black, and I'm just going to add it right there in the middle. All right, simple. Okay, so now let me show you how we're putting this all together. So let's go ahead and work on the inside first. So I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to the back using my precision glue press. Love this thing. Just makes gluing so easy, and I just filled it up so it's nice and full. It actually holds almost, well, if it's pretty empty, it'll hold 2 bottles of multi-purpose liquid glue, and I refill mine over and over and over again. So you can stamp for quite a while before you have to fill it up. And I feel like your glue goes a lot further because you can squeeze out such a thin stream of it, and it's super sticky glue. So it only takes a little bit. So I feel like when you have this, it makes your glue last way longer. And I'm not an affiliate. I should be probably, but I absolutely love it. So if you do a lot of liquid glue, it would be worth going on my Sweet Petunia and purchasing it. All right, so there's that strip. And we're going to go ahead and add that toward the top. You want to put these inside layers in before your squash card. It's just the best way to do it. And I like to just kind of put it sort of high up on the card, just so it looks interesting when you open the top of the card. All right, that looks good. Okay, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and start working on the inside of this. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is attach these together because then I know what I'm working with. So you want to, let me just show you. They're going to go together like this, but you only want to put the glue on this section here. Don't go all the way to the back, and I'm going to show you why in a moment, but only go from this corner to this corner and then to the front point, just like that. Okay, that's where you want the glue. You could also use any strong adhesive like Seal Plus would work, or your tear and tape. I find this works just fine with liquid glue. So now I'm just going to close this up and put these together, and I like to stack them, just kind of make sure they're all nice and even and give them a good squeeze. All right, I'm just going to give it a good press, just like so. And so there is our squash. And see how our back is still loose? You want that to be like that, okay? So let's go ahead and work in the top piece, and I'm going to go ahead and add my little greeting, my little sentiment. And this would also be cute to add a layer of red behind it. I might do that next time I make this card because I am going to make some of these for Christmas. I love this card. All right, and so then you have this solid piece here. So we're going to go ahead and add one of our other pieces, because remember we cut 3, and you know where to put it because it's a solid square. It doesn't have a crease in it like the other 2 squares. So we're just going to layer this right in the middle, just like so. All right, and then if you have a designer series paper that has like things that would go together, I always grab one from each side when I glue these on, but this paper doesn't really matter. It's just little dots. But if you do want to have your patterns meet, just do it that way. We don't have that problem with this pattern, so it's okay. All right, and I'm just adding these on and just centering them as best I can. And let's go ahead and get the rest of this all glued together. Okay, so now we have all of our pieces together. So that's what we have. So now we can go ahead and attach them to your card. Now, the way you attach this, you're not you're inclined to just attach it and close the card. But when you do that, you're going to have it bunch up in the corner. So the reason that we didn't put glue here is because we can stretch it out. So what I like to do is the top first. So I'm going to go ahead and put liquid glue, and you could use tear and tape if you have it. You want something nice and strong, and I'm putting a good amount. All right. And so now, making sure I'm facing the right direction, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to layer. I'm going to turn my card sideways because it's easier for me that way. But I'm just going to center this, and I'm putting the tip kind of close to this panel here, and I'm getting it as close to the center of the card as possible. All right, and you want it nice and squared up. Okay, so you can see we're not close to the score line at all. And we're going to give it a good press and let it set for a second. All right, and then while that's setting, we're going to go ahead and put the glue on the back. All right, just making sure it has a good amount on the back, and then just close your card onto it. All right, and we're going to give it a second to dry. We don't want it popping off. And this dries pretty fast. Okay, now when we open it up, if you can see, there's a gap here. You want that gap, and that's why we don't glue the whole piece. And so that way the card can open completely flat and you can write, but also there's no bunching right here. It doesn't bunch up at all. Okay, how cool is that? Very, very cool. And it'll just sit up just fine. And if you need to, when you're done, you can go ahead and add some more creasing. But this card is probably going to be want to be displayed like this because it is so cool. All right, let's go ahead and do the front. So on this vellum, you can do it two ways. You can just put some adhesive in the middle and just let the sides be open, which works just fine. Or you can just kind of put a little bit of liquid glue all the way around. It doesn't really show up that much, so you should be fine. A lot of time I will just take some Seal Plus and go ahead and just put a couple strips down the middle. This stuff is really, really strong, so that's all I need to make sure it holds. And then I'm just going to layer this right on my card, and it never fails. I always go too far over. That looks good. All right, I'm just layering that on. And once you're happy with it, then go ahead and push it down, and it's on there. All right. Now, before you came on, I went ahead and did some die cutting. I tied a bow because you know me, I'm a stinky bow tire. So I went ahead and did it ahead of time. So I cut this little tree out of granny apple green, and I die cut this is the smallest shape in the perennial postage dies, and it says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And then look at these guys. How cute is this? I got this inspiration for this card front from Terry Allen online. She had a simple card front on Pinterest that I saw, and I love the color combo. So I kind of emulated hers, not exactly, but close. I copied the colors because I love the color scheme. All right, so that's everything we have for the front of our card. And I colored in Shaded Spruce, Granny Apple Green, and Timid Tiger, and then using my Stampin' Blends, and then I used Wink of Stella on the snowman, because I think some snowmen should sparkle. And I did the same colors on this little guy, and I used Petal Pink for his skin tone, and I used just one of the skin shade markers for his hair, and then added a little bit of Pretty in Pink for his cheeks, and then I used the white color remover, color lifter to kind of lighten it just a little bit. So that's how I made those. Now you could pop these up with dies. You're already going to have to use a non-metered stamp on this because it is too thick for regular mail. So it does cost a little extra postage, but I think it's totally worth it. I always just keep a sheet of those on hand to pop on my thicker cards, or cards that I just want to make sure they don't get squished. Now, just so you know, I measured each of these white pieces and then just cut a piece of red that was about 1/8 of an inch bigger on each end. So that's how I did that. There's nothing fancy about it. I just measured it and added an eighth to a quarter of an inch and just cut it back for it. I just felt like it needed that extra little contrast, and I think it looks really nice that way. So just keep it simple and you're going to have a great card. So there's that one, and then we'll go ahead and do the We Wish You a Merry Christmas. And we can start putting this card front together. This is not a hard card to make at all. You could actually make a bunch of these at once pretty simply. All right, so the way we're going to layer it, you can layer it any way you want. You can, but I just kind of made a scene like this and stacked all of my pieces, and then we're going to add the little forest and stuff over here. So I'm going to start out by just adding liquid glue. You could also use dimensionals, like I said, if you want to pop these up more, because you're already not going to fit in the millimeter anyways, so you might as well go crazy. I figure if I'm going to make a card that needs that non-metered postage, then I'm going to just get all my money's worth out of it and add lots of height and layers to it. So this is actually going with a gift, so it's going to go in a box anyways. All right, so I am just lining these up. Look how cute they are. I love snowmen. Snowmen are one of my favorite things. Before we got rid of our house and started RVing full time, I had a snowman collection. I had so many snowmen, every kind of snowman. They were all over my house. That was one of the hardest things to get rid of, is my snowman collection. Now I just have a few because we just don't have a lot of room in the RV for all that kind of stuff, but snowmen are dear to my heart. And the funny thing is, I'm a Florida girl. I didn't even see snow until I was 13, and I had to go obviously out of state to see it, but I always loved snowmen, so I don't know where that came from. All right, there's that tree, and I'm just kind of staggering my trees because I don't want to cover up his cute little face, but I feel like the trees need to be in a group of 3. One tree just seemed lonely, so we have to make a little forest. So I'm just going to do it just like that, gluing that down. And then I think this guy is going to pop out a little bit with some dimensionals. So let me grab those and my take your pick tool, and we're just going to pop some dimensionals on the back of this tree. It's not going through a millimeter, so I'm not too worried about having it too balanced because it's not going to get mushed. All right, so we're going to put this one about right here, just like that, and then we just have to add our bow. I like to add the bows with glue dots, and I usually add 2. I feel like they go through a lot, so 2 glue dots for me, it just seems like it holds it really well. And it's sticking out a little, so I'm going to mush it, and that's just going to go right there. Okay, and so last but not least, let's go ahead and add some of these embellishments. So let's put one here, and we'll put one here, and we'll grab a little one and put it here. Okay, just makes it balanced. So there we go. That was not hard at all. Don't you agree? So here's our card. It says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." So sweet. And I love the wink of Stella. And then you pop it out, and it says "to and from," and you can flatten this out and write your names. And there's plenty of room over here for writing more on it. So there's our first card. Now let me show you what else I've made. I made a Thanksgiving card. I know we're getting close, but I needed a couple more. So I used the Autumn Toile suite of products to do this one and just cut a shape. And again, I used 4 by 5 1/4 for the front. And then look how pretty that paper is. And it says, "You're simply the best." So this could really be an all year round card. It doesn't have to be for fall. Super pretty. This is a great masculine card as well. So there's our second sample. Here's another one I used with Festive Friends, and I used the, what is that paper called? Regal Distressed Patterns, I believe is what it's called. It carried over from last year, and I really love it. Yes, Regal Distressed Patterns. It's so pretty for the holidays. And I used Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock, and with that cherry cobbler, it looks super pretty. And use that little tag. And of course, my Santa has lots of Wink of Stella. And then inside, I've pulled that same paper from that Regal Distressed Patterns and made the inside. And it says Santa's coming to town. Super, super cute. I love that one. That will definitely be going to a family member. And then here's a fourth one. I wanted to make this fourth one because I just purchased this suite of products. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's called, well, what is it called? It's called Brushed with Beauty. This designer series paper in this pack is so gorgeous. Go online and check it out. And I created this card using all of the products that come in that suite. And look at these words. Just because. So this suite of products includes the wording, includes some dies. These are my nested essential dies here. This little, I call it my coffin shape, but the stamps are beautiful. There's layered flowers, but look at this paper. So cute. And it says, consider yourself hugged. This is probably going to go to one of my customers, but I love, love, love this card. So there is a fourth card. So as you can see, this squash card is very interesting. It's a lot of fun. It's going to surprise the person who opens it. It's a great way to use your designer series paper scraps as well, because you need such small pieces for inside. And it works for, as you can see, any occasion card. Don't forget to check out my blog. Just click on the link below. It'll have all of my cutting and scoring instructions listed for you. Sometimes I do make a little boo-boo when I talk. I might say cut instead of score, or something like that. So always go to that blog because the instructions on there will be correct. I do try to catch that stuff, but you know what? I'm human. Mistakes happen. So I try not to let that happen, but you can go to my blog. You can print off that page. You can have all of the cutting and scoring instructions. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you don't already. You can also sign up for my newsletter online, and I send out a weekly newsletter letting you know everything that's going on with Stampin' Up! And lots of fun stuff. So I'm Jill the Wandering Stamper. I'm going to get some fresh air and sunshine and see you later. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.